go and getting near a peep out of it. Those are the things that you can do on the park that
that's common sense. But I will say as well, Keith, that some players don't help referees.
No, they don't.
With a rolling around and stuff like that, which I think that infuriates the fans as well. It puts that referee in an awkward position.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, the whole thing is that there's a danger of crying wolf here. Look, what you don't want is you don't want players injured, and you've got a responsibility to manage the event. But we've got into a position now where, and this is why VAR has been introduced. If it's going to be introduced, let's concentrate on the divers and recognise that a second look is going to be helpful to get a decision more accurate than it is on that first look. And, sometimes players build a reputation, and then that reputation damages that player, because there are occasions when he goes down fouled and he's not getting it. And I can hear when I'm at a match, they'll go, well, it's him. Whoever it is, it's him. And you go, well, actually, I thought that was a foul and that should have been a penalty kick. And they look at me as though I've come off the planet.
We're seeing that more and more with Jack Grealish now. When he played for Aston Villa, I thought, it's just a diving so-and-so, But when I'm watching him week in, week out, he's actually fouled a hell of a lot. And it's got to the stage now, because he's got a reputation of being fouled, he's not getting all the decisions what he should get. So I think that just comes with the territory, But you get instances like, I want to ask you about the foul on Laporte in the Southampton match. Did you see that, Keith?
Was this where he raked down the front?
Yeah, straight down the.
That was a red card.
Yeah, and
I mean, and I've already said it. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's those types of challenges that you've got to get out. But this is about education. This is why I say to clubs, if you had a referee, an ex-referee around you, they could talk to the players, because a lot of people believe that the ball is a decoy and the ball can be used. So you've got freedom to hit the ball first and then take the man out and wipe him out. You haven't. The laws of the game don't allow that anymore. And the reality is, and it's difficult for players as it's difficult for referees, is you can make a 2-footed challenge, miss the ball, miss the player, and still get a red card.
Because of the intent.
Yes. Well, because it's deemed a reckless, an excessive force challenge that's endangered. And this is why the whole aspect of it, I say to people to understand it better, have a look at a car and think about two cars, because you can be accused of reckless driving without the two cars crashing.
Yeah.
And it's no different in football. But I think that there is, I think sometimes, I think the competition in football, unlike rugby and cricket, undervalues the people who pay the money, and that's the spectators. They want to treat spectators not in the right manner. Mm-hmm. I often would come out of a game and a fan might say to me, can you explain what I've done that? And I'd stand there and explain. Maybe I'm different to a lot of others, but I know my mate Neil Midgley, bless his soul, and Pat Partridge. I've seen him. I've seen George Courtney. I've seen those people do it. I've seen those players explaining the decision, not to justify the decision, to actually get a better understanding, or the fan having a better understanding. And that's when I was boss of the PGMOL. I went around the clubs talking to fan groups on the basis of having a greater understanding of the laws of the game.
That's a great shout. Do you think referees should be encouraged to post-match come out and explain, or do you reckon that's putting them under the firing line?
Well, I think that VAR. Yeah. Well, the truth is, one of the difficulties here is that I tried to encourage that. I had put all the referees on, when I was boss, I put all the referees on a media training course. They were all good communicators. They all knew how to dodge, generally, the difficult questions, but he would answer honestly. And there was one occasion, I think it might be Rob Stiles, came out, he'd sent someone off. It was a tight call, but it was a correct call in law. And he went on TV and said, I've sent this player off for serious foul play, right? Explained it, that was it. And the following day, I got a call from the manager and then the chairman of the club saying, we were going to appeal this decision, but you're not allowed to do that because the referee's already come out and stated his case. You're influencing the outcome. And I'm saying, no, we're actually clarifying the decision that the referee has given and an understanding of what he's saying. And if you still want to appeal and test it if you want.
In the same for a manager coming out or a player post-match and, commenting on an incident. It's no difference to me.
Well, I think that there is a difference of finance, I dare I say, and that's not paying the referee to come out and have a chat. If we think about the media, the main commentary, isn't it, is on the lines of not how great a pass this player made or this challenge or this save. It's about the phone-ins. It's about television being able to, and the media being able to spend a great deal of time questioning a decision. In a way, it's at the centre of the game to some degree. The old habit of being able to blame the referee in what is a blame culture. We lost this game because of that referee's decision, when invariably they then forget that somebody's missed the back of the net.
I think that's changing now. Well, I can only speak for myself. I think that's changing now. It's the referee's fault. It's VAR's fault because,
look, I mean, until we get openness in the system, then it will always have these levels of difficulty because, they've got two pundits that are paid by the PGMOL, Gallagher and Walton, who come out regularly. And I mean, I get calls from Mark Halsey saying, Keith, I've just seen this and I've done this and I've said this. Am I right? And I'm going, Mark, you're right. You're spot on, mate.
He's actually a good guy. I interviewed Mark a few months ago, and that's why I love getting insight from the likes of yourselves, Keith, because it's not just a Manchester City related thing. It's insight and knowledge for every single football fan to get a better understanding of what does actually go on.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that I think Mark and I both take the same view that if we can inform, then so much the better. But I mean, in recent months, the danger is we've been accused of being old farts, having a go at everybody. But in reality, I mean, I did a top 20 this week. I took the referees list, and I've got to tell you, I started off with Oliver getting 8 out of 10. And then I got to about 4 referees. I involved Darren England because I think he's at least putting some effort in. And then the number that we're at 5 and below out of 10 season today was too long. Because, being realistic, you've got Atkinson, Dean, Mariner, Scott, they're all over 50. Right now, I know ageism and all these sort of things, and we've made them professional and they're fitter and all that goes with it, but mentally as well, they begin to erode, however you look at it. And there's a thing called VO2 max, where oxygen around the body and all those sort of things, the aging process. So you've got them, and you've got too many referees who aren't good enough. Now that's me saying it. And I'm thinking,
is that VAR stopping their progression? Do you think? Where now, because you've got the flip side where you think referees, if I've missed it, VAR will pick it up. So they've got that safety blanket. Do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, I listened to Nigel Owens because I had a conversation with him a few months ago about how long does it take to get over these problems with VAR? And he talked about, he said, well, we went through a process where it develops lazy referees. And that's exactly what we've got now. We've got a number of lazy referees. In the way that you look at it, we'll rely on the VAR to pull us out of jail.
Yeah.
And by the way, anything that we do, it's VAR's fault. You know, if the guy who sunk the Titanic, the captain, it might have been other people on board that were steering the ship. He takes the blame, and that's what it should be. That's how it should be. The referee takes the can. He don't blame anybody. But what Nigel Owens said was, liken VAR. Just think about a tightrope walker. He's got no VAR, therefore he's got no safety net. Every step that he takes with great care, and he doesn't want to make a mistake. He's not operating in fear. He's confident, but he doesn't want to make a mistake. Introduce a safety net, and he's looking around, and if he falls off, it doesn't matter. It'll catch him. And that's right. I think this is where we're at with VAR. You know, I mean, we see it drifting in terms of offsides, but I've always been critical of VAR and offside decisions, mainly because I stood up and said to the Premier League years ago, we've got to have goal line technology. And they said, whoa. And I went out and had meetings with Hawkeye. We set it up. We used Mcfc Park, Fulham's football ground, training ground. We tested it. And I kept saying to Dr. Paul Hawkins of Hawkeye, I don't want the human being involved in that process. I want it technically competent enough that it's that accurate. All it says is goal, no goal. Right.
And it's and that is proven, and nobody even batters an eyelid anymore, because everyone accepts that if it says it's a goal,
it's a goal. No
matter how many times you replay it, it'll show it's a goal. It's a goal.
Yeah, but see, to achieve that, you've got 7 cameras around each goal, and we move from 50 frames per second to 500 frames per second cameras to get that level of accuracy. So when you now come to offside decisions, and the toenail and all that, they've tried to fudge us, by the way. We're going to have these broadcast lines and all that. Have you noticed now? They don't show us the lines. We don't see the lines anymore, because when they do show them, in fact, at the weekend, I think they might have shown one. But the reality is they think, well, we fob them off, because they're asking, we're showing them too much. Back off a bit.
Yeah.
Those camera speeds are at 50 frames per second. And I know that I had to move to 500 frames per second and 7 cameras to get an accurate call as the ball crossing the line. And they're operating on 1 or 2 cameras at 50 frames per second. You're not going to get the level of accuracy. And I said to somebody a few weeks ago, take a loaf of bread, slice it 50 times, and take another loaf of bread and slice it 500 times. And then you can actually move the frame very slowly and very slightly and get a more accurate decision. And that's all they have to do. They're not linking up a practical and if you like, technical aspect. Now, they're working on it at the moment, because I think they will eventually do away with the linesman on offsides. But look, we can argue about technology. I brought in communication kits, goal line technology, polar heart monitors, Prozone, referee, all analysis detail. Still comes down to one thing. How good is that referee?
Yep.
How well have you prepared him? How well do you analyze his performance? Is he a referee that can actually learn from his errors? Or is he one that just continues? Is he a referee that's going to put the effort in? You know, look, you see De Bruyne every time he plays. I don't. Mm-hmm. What is amazing about De Bruyne is he always seems to be in the right position at the right time. What you don't see is the amount of physical effort that he's putting into his game to get from A to B. plus the fact he can overcome a shortfall in that and have a rest when he feels appropriate during the course of the match.
Yeah.
Referees can't, but what referees are doing is they're cheating on themselves. You know, when I took over, we were doing about 10,500 meters in a game average. Players were doing more. We moved that to 11,500 meters. Somebody like Halsey did 14,000 meters. He ran forever. And he was the only referee that I said, Mark, you've got to curtail some of your running.
I think he ran a little bit further in the playoff final after that, when the Gillingham fans were trying to catch
just a bit, just a bit. But the reality of all of it is that I see referees now cheating on themselves because they're stopping short. Look, the process of a referee, without getting too boring technically, is you have to see, you recognize what has taken place, you then think, and then you act. And that's what you're doing all the time. And that's what you're doing, by the way, when you're driving your car. When you go on the street, is it red? Is it green? Is it amber? Is somebody going to step off the pavement? Yep. And what you're doing is you're seeing, you're recognizing, you're having a bit of a think, and then you're making your decision. I'll accelerate, I'll brake, I'll turn right, left, or whatever. Refereeing's no different. The fault line is, if you don't see that youngster jumping off the street, you'll hit them. Mm-hmm. If you're not aware that that could happen, you'll hit them. And this is no different for referee. If you're not getting into the right position with the right viewing angle, you'll miss. And the cardinal sin in refereeing, and I'm seeing it more and more, I'm not going to give you the cases, is referees guessing. Because when they guess,
that is the cardinal sin.
Right or wrong. They might get some right, but they'll get an equal number, more or less, wrong. And the only way you do that is to be able to see. And therefore, the only way you see is what we did. We changed the referees' training. When I refereed, we were plonkers in terms of plodders, one pace, endurance. Can we last 90 minutes and a bit more? When the laws changed, the back pass law changed, the Premier League was introduced, the whole aspect became dynamic. We needed fitter, more mobile referees. The sprint average, 20 sprints in a game that somebody like I was doing, went up to something like 50. I even brought a running coach in, you know, and somebody like Webb and Clattenburg and Halsey comfortably would run penalty area to penalty area in 11 seconds. So my job as the boss of the PGMOL was to prepare them and then take away perception. I think maybe, and all those sort of things, and then work with reality like a football club does. Why has Manchester City got a successful manager? Because technically he's got people around him and provide him with the accurate information that this player is tiring or his optimum performance is less than it was last week.
Yep.
He's not going to be selected, or we're going to pull him off and sub him.
No, I couldn't agree with you.
And you know, in refereeing terms, that's what we need to do more of.
You are relying on the team around you, and this is. I said when the first game when VAR came in the Premier League, I'll never forget. City was at home against Spurs, and the euphoria when we scored was unbelievable. You know, from everybody.
Yeah.
About 3-4 minutes later, it was no goal, and it's like, it takes all the adrenaline.
Yeah.
And for me, I remember what I posted on social media that day was football today died.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've not seen any improvements since then. No. And I think we just need, for any incident, we need a quicker resolution to it.
Correct.
I think it's essential, like you said earlier, that referees are mic'd up so we can know what's going on. That'll take the uncertainty away where, you know, we may not agree with it, but we understand and we respect the decision they've come to, rather than now there's no accountability at the moment from VAR.
Well, the daft bit is this, that you pay whatever you pay to go and sit in a stadium and watch a game, and you're less informed about what's happening on the field of play than if I'm sat at home watching it on television.
Absolutely.
And because you're not informed, and because like it's all of a blank in the stadium, players aren't aware, managers are not aware. To some degree, they can listen in, but it's a pregnant pause that football, it's common sense here. Look, just inform everybody. Let us understand that we don't need to protect referees and put them in cotton wool. They're human, and the game of football often has lots of errors in it. We don't want referees to make loads of them, but they will make errors, no matter how good they are.
We accept that the human beings at the end of the day.
Exactly.
But they're being turned into
just keep me informed. But what we have got now, isn't it? We seem to be getting a quicker resolution on goals. We don't seem to have that pregnant delay at the moment. So I think that, I mean, I just shudder at times. I mean, I just look at the number. When I was the boss of the PGML, I keep saying it, and I don't mean to. In a 10-week game program, we could sit down and analyze, and we'd have one major decision that weekend. One major decision that I'd just go, take a rest, mate. You know,
you're getting 3, 4, and 5 in one match now.
Exactly. And you go, how's this referee? I mean, you've got to understand I once sat with Tom Finney and Nat Lofthouse and Neil Midgley at Bolton Wanderers, Burnden Park. It was the middle of the week. There was nobody else there. We had a bite of lunch. I was privileged because these guys were telling me that they were well paid. They got £7 a week and all,
they're on more than me,
and they went out and did a bit of plumbing and all that. Things move in eras, and their knowledge of the game was obviously, there's more knowledge now than then in terms of tactics and all that goes with it. But they didn't know the referee was. They just said, well, no, we couldn't question his decisions. We let him get on with his job and we got on with ours. And it'd be nice to get back to that particular position. But I just feel that some of the referees, players do make life difficult for referees, that's for sure. But I do think some of the referees are outside their comfort zone. The simplicity of it is nobody's telling them they're not good enough.
Yep. Here's one for you, Keith. What I always hear, and I'm sure you've heard it yourself, that the bigger teams get the more decisions.
Yeah, it's a nonsense. Do you know, invariably it's the other way. Now, let me give you an example. I can remember refereeing a Steelworks departmental match in Sheffield. My uncle played for one team, and I sent him off. And there were a mate running me the line, and he came in at half time and he said, "That were harsh. Your uncle." And I go, "Yeah, but why did you send him off?" I said, "Well, if I didn't, everybody would think I was favouring that team and his team." And so he got the brunt of it on that particular occasion. Okay, grassroots game. But I think invariably referees don't balance, but they have to take what's in front of them. Doesn't matter who it is. Doesn't matter who the player is. I can remember refereeing New York Cosmos in Giants Stadium. They were playing Vancouver Whitecaps, and Giorgio Canaglia was the star player of New York Cosmos. Interestingly, played for Swansea before, but that's another. He was a star, Italian star. And after 5 minutes, he's put the ball in the back of the net. He's jumped up. He's got on the shoulders of a defender, popped it into the back of the net. The crowd's gone brilliant. The enormous celebration. I've wiped the goal out because he's pushed him like crazy. So I've wiped it out. And Canaglia comes up to me and he's gone absolutely bananas and says, don't you know who I am? And I've gone, I'll know in a minute. If you don't shut up, I will know you in a minute. And he's going on and on and on. I said, okay, then let's get to know each other. Mine's Keith. What's yours? He goes, Jojo. I said, okay, Jojo, yellow card. And he looked at me, he goes, no one gives me yellow card. No one gives me yellow card. And at the end of the game, there's a knock on my dressing room. And my two linesmen, by the way, said to me, Christ, do you know what you've done? You've only hit New York's star player. And I go, I don't care. I'm a guest referee on this league. I'm going to referee as I see fit. He knocked on the door, came in and said, can I have the yellow card? Will you sign it? And then he said, you must referee us more. So in a sense, it was saying that they want referees to be pretty tough, but he also liked the fact that it doesn't matter who he is, because he knows that if I treat him one way, I'm going to treat everybody else the same way.
And that's the integrity of Keith Hackett, that, you know.
Well, I think that's the integrity of most referees.
Yeah.
In fairness.
So the answer to the question was no, they're not treated, big clubs are not treated any different than the smaller ones.
I don't believe that, no. I think that the one thing that I can assure you is this, that when you step into a big stadium, your concentration levels should be high. Your expectation is that you want to perform to the very optimum level. And I think what probably fans don't realize is how upset you can be when it doesn't go right. I'll give you a story. And I was appointed to referee West Ham United against Nottingham Forest in an FA Cup game in the 90s at Villa Park. And on the Thursday, we're all called to a meeting at Coventry. And we're sat in this room, and Ken Ridden, the FA guy, comes up and says, gentlemen, I know this is very late in the season, semi-final FA Cup time, but FIFA have advised us that the way we're interpreting denial of an obvious goal-scoring opportunity is incorrect. Up to that point, we'd been looking for a cynical challenge, the Willie Young at this cup final. And we went, what? And they explained to us that any foul that denies an obvious goal-scoring opportunity now is a red card. And I went out that Sunday, and Tony Gale brought Gary Crosby down, and he gets a red card. If that had happened on the Wednesday night before that Thursday meeting, I wouldn't have said anything. He wouldn't have even got a yellow.
Yeah.
But see, I'm told that this is how you now have to interpret the law. But what happened then was I was the Aunt Sally, because no one had told the media, no one had told the players, no one had told the managers that this law had changed. No one had told the fans.
So they hung it out to dry, basically.
Absolutely hung out to dry. And therefore, I've always said thereafter that my communication, in terms of if somebody asked me a question, they'll get an honest answer. If when I was boss of the PGMOL and a manager said, I need to come and see you, I'd come and see you. Or I then went to the Premier League and said, look, I want to make two changes. I want managers to see me pre-season, and we'll organise it in 3 separate meetings so that they're not getting bothered in terms of pre-match or pre-season games. They can attend at least one of them. And we had these types of discussion. And then when something went pear-shaped, I'd get in the car and drive and see the manager and have a discussion. And I think that that's part, as I see it, the process of informing and enlightening, not me as an individual, as a barometer how the referee is going, or me actually saying, look, we've made a mistake here.
I think that's where the not closeness from a referee in a club, because that doesn't sound right. I think communication is key in everything. And what you did and other old school referees did, I should imagine, everyone of that ilk was exactly the same. You spoke to managers, etc. Referees now you won't see referees doing anything like. Do you think referees are overall in favour of VAR, Keith?
Well, they say they are. I think that I or not. I know they need VAR
because of how poor some of them are.
Well, I think the game needs as much technology help as possible. Look, when you sit down and watch your screen TV, there's a minimum at a Premier League game. There's 22 cameras minimum, right? Don't worry about the 14 goal line technology. They're not counted. So there's 22 cameras. At the press of a button, the man in the room, who's the producer, can give you an angle that's not afforded to the match officials. That's why technology has to be not an hindrance, but has to be a help. And the important thing about technology is, first of all, getting the criteria right and saying, how do we improve? Have we seen a genuine improvement in the operation of VAR in the English Premier League since its introduction? Answer, no.
Because initially it was clear and obvious, wasn't it? But we're not seeing just, clear and obvious now. We're seeing absolutely everything. So it needs to go back to a basic, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right, because I look with an expert eye from a refereeing point of view, and I don't know where the bar is that they're setting, because there's a subliminal way of using VAR, and that is, like the assistant says to the referee, I think that could be a penalty, mate. And the referee says, no, from where I'm looking, it ain't. That's it. And that conversation can go on. They might too. This is about somebody, you don't have the guy with the green and red flag at the back of the train telling the train driver to slow down or to do whatever. He stops and starts himself. It's about this undue interference. There's almost this, look at me, I'm at Stockley Park, but there's also, I think, a relationship problem. I mean, I can remember, I ran the line to Jack Taylor, World Cup referee, and it was Leeds United against Arsenal. I remember this like it was yesterday. And just before half time, I've flagged for 3 free kicks. And I've got them right. I've definitely got them right. I come in the dressing room and Jack Taylor says to me, I've gone, like, having a chat. Do you want a cup of tea? Yeah, we have a cup of tea. And he goes, listen, thought you were getting a bit busy, Keith. I thought you were getting a bit busy, And that enough was to say, I know where the balance needs to be. And it's these honest conversations that say, you drop me in it, don't do that again. Or I'm never ever going to work with you again. It's like me saying, look, I think you're a good referee, but you're not good enough for the Premier League. And then we can get into like Martin Atkinson. I thought 4 years ago, he should have quit. He looked tired and he looked aged. And then he went on he did a wonderful thing. And I don't know him that well, even though I was his boss. He did a wonderful thing of a charity drive from England to Russia, where they were playing the World Cup. And he came back totally and utterly energized. And I'm going like, I'm amazed at this referee. He's a different referee. But now this season, he's gone back into his retirement mode. Mike Dean, retirement mode. Andre Mariner, he's a postman that's got a back problem. I can see it.
Yep.
You've got Simon Hooper, who I don't know whoever has made that choice. So it's like a manager buys a player and it don't work, you get rid of them.
Yep.
There needs to be an understanding that this is the best league in the world. It demands the best referees. And if we can't produce them in England, then we should be bringing the best referees in
to
do the job. And that's no different from if you go, well, this is not bad, but I need a barrister. I need someone better.
Yeah.
And what we can't do at the moment is the topic of conversation. I mean, I don't go to Premier League games at the moment. I watch a lot on TV, obviously, and I comment about a lot. And I've been to one or two. But I'm president of a local team in the North East Counties League, Penistone Church. We have about 30 teams. And I see like referees come, and in the main, they do a really good job. They work like crazy. They put it in. They're managing players who are playing for a couple of quid and putting it in. And you go, managed well, refereed well, could referee higher. Could referee higher. But see, there's no churn. There's 5 referees that are 50 plus. I mean, so one of the worst referees, Lee Mason, they go, not good enough. Somebody said, you're not good enough, retire. But mate, Lee, as a bit of a fob, we'll make your VAR professional. How can you make a poor referee into a good VAR?
Yeah.
I mean, it's common sense.
It's part of I think that's part of the problem though, Keith, isn't it? That's exactly the right analogy what you just made. If somebody's not good enough, well, hang on, we'll get them off the pitch, out the highlight, out of the spotlight, but we'll put them in Stockley Park and let them cock up a bit more.
But ultimately, at the end of the day, somebody has to stand and fall when the team's not performing. But I think the problem, I don't know. In my day, and it's not that long ago, we had people who would stand up and say, this referee's crap. If that's for Alex Ferguson, if that's Bob Paisley, whoever it is, right, there's got to be people who have not seen a good referee and some that there's a balance here. But there's others who are prepared to come in and say, look, this is not the performance I would expect from this referee.
The thing is, they say that, and they get reprimanded for it, don't they? If somebody comes out and, everybody's allowed to say about this, that, and the other. But if you say the referee's had a bad game or whatever, they get a fine, don't they? And it's wrong.
Well, I think I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, what you've got to have is lines of communication that work. For example, at the moment, I would ban managers from coming on the field at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Right? The reason for that is it's all too public. It's the manager who's lost his game, but it's not the referee's fault, wants to blame the referee.
Mm-hmm.
And he does that because the fans expect him to go and have a word with the referee because we've lost the game.
Yeah.
We're not daft. And therefore, I think that in this situation, like I saw a manager last week get a yellow card and a red card, and I'm thinking that could all have been avoided because 30 minutes after the game, knock on the referee's dressing room door and have a chat. And that referee then has got to have a chat. And if the manager, I said to managers, 30 minutes after the game, go in and have a chat. And if he doesn't want to talk, I want to know. You ring me. You ring me straight away. And that's what he used to do. And I'd go back to the referee and say, listen, you're not leaving that ground, mate, until you've had a conversation with this manager. He wants to know why you've done something. You tell him.
Don't you think, though, that that's all theatrical from certain managers? Because there's certain managers that love that bit, aren't they? And it's all theatre, isn't it, for them? And it's, it's making it look like they care, don't they? And,
Yeah, well, I mean, I think there are bigger things in the game that need to be addressed. For me, for example, you go and watch Manchester City, you're getting about 55, 56 minutes of playing time.
Yeah.
And you've got one of the best clubs in the world, and you're being cheated because you're having to pay for 90 minutes.
Yeah, time wait.
So the competition, the Premier League, which is the 20 clubs, should be addressing that issue.
Yeah.
And they then should be saying to Mike Riley, why is it taking so long for your referee to manage these free kicks? We've given you the spray can. You work with your referees to speeden up that process. And if the players don't go back 10 yards, the first couple of weeks, bang them with a yellow card. Tell them this is what you're going to do, and this is why you're going to do it.
Because you get scenarios, we've seen it time and time again, Keith, where an opposition goalkeeper will start wasting time from minute one, and it's not until about the 89th minute the referee will give them a yellow card, and that's allowed to go on for the whole of the match.
Because the referees are not being educated. In a way, I was fortunate enough because I refereed overseas. Therefore, a lot of the games that I refereed would be home and away legs. You knew full well that if you had a home leg, the away team, the last thing they wanted to do was have a goal scored against them. And the same for the home team. So you almost got, at times, a game where it was like two boxes and you needed to get the two boxes together and say, look, are we going to have a fight or not here? And I think in principle, this is one of the problems in the game now, because what you've got is, you've got the difference between what is time consuming and time wasting. And time consuming is subtle. It's the coach saying, when you get that ball in your hands at a throw-in, I want you to go 8 or 9 yards. I want the referee to pull you back. I want you to look at the referee, so he's going to pull you back. I want you to apply a bit of pressure. At corner kicks, put it outside the quadrant, right? And look around at the linesman, almost like saying it's outside the quadrant. At free kicks, don't go 10 yards. Or you stand on the ball and say, I want the ball back, it's not far enough. And you come in and move the ball a yard.
Yeah.
These are all tactics that you see. It's like, when did you last see? Somebody had said to me at the weekend, Keith, can you tell me one thing? Is the 6-second law still in the laws of the game with the goalkeeper? The answer is yes, it is. When did you last see a goalkeeper penalised for that? Never.
True story.
Yeah, it's right near the end of the game normally.
Yeah. But that was brought in to try and speed up the game.
Mm. We see it all in the City.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, if look, not being disrespectful, if you've got a team that's lower in the list, lower in the league, and they're coming to City's ground, right? The last thing they want is 90 minutes of football.
We'll see that in the derby in a few weeks when United come, a lower league team with a
the least you've got. I mean, the tactic of it's always been there. The tactic of a team high up in the league playing against a team that's fighting for survival. The least amount of time is what they want. The one at the bottom, the one near the bottom. And you see it now. It forms part of the tactics, because the fear factor in football is losing.
Brilliant, Keith. I could absolutely speak to you all day. I really could, because it gives us
there's loads of more stuff to ask, isn't there?
No, honestly, it's just I would much rather speak to a Keith Hackett than a Lee Mason, for instance, because refereeing's not the same, is it? No.
Well, do you know, maybe you should get Anthony Taylor on. I mean,
is that Anthony Taylor, whose whole family supports United, but he's the only one who supports Altrincham?
Well, the one thing is, that might be the case. The one thing is, in my day, he wouldn't have got appointed to a Manchester either game. In the same way, I mean, somebody rang me yesterday and said, "Do I remember going to Chesterfield?" And I went, "Yeah, that in effect was the nearest appointment that I ever had, because you weren't allowed Sheffield United, Sheffield Wednesday. I only refereed Leeds United twice because it was considered Yorkshire Leeds, and I was Yorkshire Sheffield. But now, you know,
it's all changed.
Well, look, I think things changed. Life changes. I've been part of that change. You know, I was an amateur. They get me 35 quid refereeing, and then losing my job twice, having to pay for a flight from Stuttgart to get back in time to save my job. All those sort of things were part of what we accepted as being part and parcel. We moved, you know, I sat with Sir Dave Richards and said we needed to go professional. This is how we could do it. They needed to invest. And I can remember saying, look, I think it could be done for 2-3 million. When I left, I was spending 5 million.
Wow.
Currently, you can look at Companies House. The budget, last year's set of accounts, 22 million. That is what's been spent on refereeing at the Premier League, Football League level. Now, okay, games change, salaries change, finances change. But the ultimate is, are we actually getting value for money?
Exactly. You've got to get like quality value for money. And you know, every fan up and down the country, if they're asked that, and I would say they'd say no, because what's the difference between, say, a 1981 FA Cup final or a 2022 Cup final? I'd say there was more honesty, integrity in back in the day than there is now. Referees didn't want to be superstars back in the day, whereas now you get one or two who feel, I feel that they've got to be star of the show, be it for making a crazy decision only for VAR to either overturn it, or they won't make a decision because they know VAR will overturn it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the things that we've seen is the import of top quality players into the Premier League that's made a huge difference. Sadly, I think that we went professional in refereeing in order to be the best referees in the world. I think I can safely say that when I left the organisation, we had a cadre of world-class match officials. Not everyone. We had some that weren't good enough, but I got rid of them. I think now, you know, the reality is you've got Oliver and Taylor stand out, and then you begin to scratch. I mean, I was asked by the Daily Telegraph at the weekend to do a 1 to 20 of the referees, and it made for interesting reading, because, as I said, I started doing that and said, well, just a minute, if I'm saying he's number one, I'm almost indicating that he's a 10 out of 10 referee every time he goes in. Now, if you're saying that De Bruyne is 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 when he's on the team, how does the referee compare? Can you actually, in terms of skill, in terms of commitment, in terms of energy, all those sort of things go into the melting pot. And that one referee, Oliver, at the moment got a
rule, isn't it? I mean, the offside rule for me.
Yeah.
Well, apologies, guys.
Okay.
For some reason, I lost you then with me.
Yeah.
I've not put 50p in the meter, I don't think. But listen, Keith, I may as well cut it there, pal, because technology. Absolute pleasure, and I genuinely mean that, my friend. It's given us a great insight on not just VAR, but how football should be, how it was, and how it should be getting back there. Am I right, Riz?
It's been made too complicated, and it's so refreshing to speak to you, Keith, and listen how an old school referee, if you like, when I was watching you at Main Road and stuff, how it was running. You got over the decisions a lot quicker because it was human error. We're now seeing decisions are emphasised how badly they are because a computer and somebody who's analysed it 20 still got it wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and it makes it worse.
Yeah,
and that's what makes it worse. You can understand human error. You can explain that away, but you can't explain this away apart from corruption. No, it looks. That's how it looks. Listen, it's been a pleasure, mate. I'm going to have to shoot off. I've got.
Take care.
I'll have to definitely have you on again, Keith.
Anytime.
Thanks a lot, Keith. Honestly, a pleasure. Take care, guys.
Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.